Hello, business owners and my fellow citizens and my business associates and my customers. I'm Daryl Guberman. I'm the CEO of Guberman-PMC LLC, a quality consulting firm here in Connecticut. I have been assisting companies in manufacturing quality going on 12 years. I can't believe it. I opened my business in 2011, and I've been getting the slings and arrows many times up to and including lawsuit. Frivolous that it is. Anyway, that's coming to a close. Nevertheless, I was very disappointed that I did not get chosen for the ANSI board. This is by no means sour grapes. This is a disgusting display of an organization that has been bastardized over time and corrupted by government agencies and corporations and their staff. Business owners, I placed into nomination in June for a director at large, a 54-page document. It had 16 letters of reference or letters of commendation from customers of mine, a very good average because I sent out 30 asking my customers to write back and give me a letter of recommendation, and 16 out of 30, which is a very good average, more than half, wrote back to ANSI. I was also asked to answer 9 questions that I did, that what Daryl Guberman can bring to the table of ANSI, the American National Standards Institute. By the way, we have a special guest here. I'll introduce him in a second. And this is what, after the 9 questions that I answered, this is who congratulated me. The committee appreciates your interest in serving in an ANSI leadership position and your willingness to provide us with additional information. Sincerely, Russ Chaney. Now, business owners, I want you to listen to this. This is what Russ Chaney left me on my voicemail because I opened up an impropriety concerning laboratory accreditation. When you see what I have, you're going to scratch your head and say, what the heck did this guy think of? At the time, Russ Chaney was the chairman of the American National Standards Institute, and in order for me to put my 54-page document into submission, I had to learn about, the ethics of what they're looking for in the individual, the decorum, as we call it. Well, Russ Chaney left me this message. Business owners, yes, that was half a nut fuck you. Why he did that, you'll see. And I have no clue even why he did that as a chairman, because what that tells me is he's talking more than likely about ANSI, who's not only a standard writer, but they're an accreditor because they certified Cargill beef. They certified through the British Retail Consortium. They use the ANSI stamp as the accreditation body, and Cargill got 138,000 pounds of beef recalled for E. coli. And then they have Mitzi Bomb over there, stop foodborne illness. Well, we can't stop it with that, cert, that's for sure. It appears that everything ANSI-ANAB touches turns to dreck. And we're going to show you, we've showed you, and by the way, this is only a small snippet. I've been trying to cut these videos down to 3 minutes, but this is so entwined and enmeshed that if I don't explain it to you business owners, all these acronyms will be like freaking alphabet soup, all right? Let me continue. The special guest here is Mr. Jonathan Booe, and he sits on ANSI's board. And I don't think he knows it because what they do is they like to keep you deaf, dumb, and blind sitting on these boards, like the tag teams that are out there who are supposed to help with quality and improvement of standards. And they pick the brightest, the best and the brightest, while the leaders there smoke cigars, drink and eat caviar and champagne. And the poor people, the men and women who are bringing quality to the forefront in these tag organizations are getting screwed. Absolutely. So you have him. And yes, he is the executive vice president of the chief operations office of the North American Energy Standards Board. Well, Jonathan, have we got a story for you? You know, do you know that between 2015 and 2021, that organization, ANSI-ANAB, and ANSI took over complete control over ANAB in 2018. But between 2015 and 2021, they were controlled and manipulated by Communist China, who was involved with air quality and has been since 1994. I don't even think you were born then. Maybe, maybe not. Anyway, we'll go with this. Jonathan, at the time in 2013, I gave a speech at the American Society for Quality. Mr. Dave Levy, a Region 3 director, who had some power behind him, stated that he had no problem with what we're doing. In fact, ANAB supports me. So at the time, the American Society for Quality and the American National Standards Institute owned ANAB 50-50. So I got 50% thumbs up. That's not bad. But I'll tell you this, I didn't care. You don't need that. Then we got an invitation from Randy Doherty. At the time, Randy was the technical advisor of ANAB. He was also the principal on the IAF tax report and also the treasurer of the IAF. He said, I can either join ANAB or IAF or both, but this is not important, Jonathan. Our 50 other percent, which mean we had 100% recognition, which we didn't need, came with the same letter, but in this context. It said, but we recognize and accept that there are conformity assessment bodies and accreditation bodies, such as your body and your accreditation body, that are not part of the IAF and ILAC structure. IAF is the International Accreditation Forum, Jonathan, if you don't know, and the ILAC is the International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation. We're going to continue on. ANSI is a not-for-profit, non-governmental organization, corporation that has federal agencies and corporations on board. In 2015, Jonathan, you had Randy Doherty, then the vice president of ANAB, chairman of the IAF. He's watching over himself, which doesn't matter. But if they dispensed good quality, certificates, I would say that's more power to you. But he was just in it, I think, for the money, to tell you the truth, Jonathan. But anyway, let's continue on. He was also the principal in the IAF, International Accreditation Forum. He was the on their tax form 990, and also he was chairman, principal, all the rest of that. He handed over leadership to Zhao Jinwu, a communist Chinese national. He handed him over an American-based company incorporated in Delaware. Zhao Jinwu's been involved with our quality since 1994, and he's also the chief executive officer of the China National Accreditation Services that certified the suspect release of the COVID, virus in Wuhan, China. They certified that lab. On top of it, you have the China National Intelligence Law, Article number 7, which mandates espionage. You have the factor that ANSI took over complete control over ANAB, and also you have federal agencies and corporations on board. Also, you have 10 different registrars in communist China that can issue ANAB accredited certifications. And Jonathan, let me just say this. Sitting on ANSI's board is all those federal agencies, FAA, FDA, FTC, FBI, DOJ, DOD, all the rest of this mess. And not one of those organizations were savaged when it came to taking their data. And it's not cybersecurity. Sitting on ANSI's board is giving it away because ANSI and ANAB, between 2015 and 21, when Communist Chinese national Zhao Jinwu was watching over the American company, IAF, International Accreditation Forum, sitting on there also next to ANSI and ANAB are also Pakistan and Iran and others. Pakistan and Iran, Jonathan, do you remember them, or were you too young to remember that? 9/11. Pakistan harbored Osama bin Laden. They sit there equivalent in accreditation to ANAB. You have Iran, who admitted to harboring some of the terrorists of 9/11, but I don't blame the people. I blame the politicians. I don't blame the organization. I blame the membership, Jonathan. Here we go. Continuing on. By the way, ANAB and ANSI are underwriters for the International Accreditation Forum in Delaware and also the International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation. An underwriter, Jonathan, if you don't know what that is, this is what it is. It is an underwriter is any party that evaluates and assumes another party's risk for a fee. Yeah. What bothered me, Jonathan, as I investigated laboratory, because I do the registration and all that, we investigated laboratory accreditation. Something didn't smell right, Jonathan. You know what didn't smell right? When we pulled this title, this didn't smell right. A majority of failures happen in accredited laboratories. You're looking at this. I see you have a smile on your face. It's not smiley and it's not funny, Jonathan, because here you go. There's a multitude. This is not even half of the laboratory failure articles that we have. What bothered me, too, is when I pulled out a deposition from Pamela Sale. You probably know her. She's ANSI-ASQ-ANAB's Vice President of Accreditation for Laboratory Certification. And this is what she said. I'm not going to read all of it. I'm just going to read number 1 over here. She said that one of the issues is that there is no commonly agreed upon set of standards that forensic labs around the country have to follow. Instead, there are informal guidelines that labs can choose to follow or not follow. Business owners, my fellow citizens, Jonathan, under voluntary consensus, there's a lot of failure. What I did was I did a video concerning A2LA, which sits on ANSI's board right over by forensic laboratories. By the way, failing, some of them failing miserably, like the Department of Forensic Science, the FBI runs down in Washington, D.C., where I just got back from picketing ANSI because of their improprieties. Russ Chaney, I'm sure you know him. They also, A2LA sat on ANSI's board, I mean not ANSI, but IAF, watched over and controlled by Communist China, 2015 to 2021. You know who else sat there? Lockheed Martin. And Lockheed Martin is associate member. An associate member, by the way, Jonathan, can vote on policy. Yet they keep Iran and Pakistan on an American company. What the hell is wrong? I think Russ Chaney, when he said half a nut, fuck you, I think that meant the quality that's being dispensed from ANSI and from ANAB, since they own each other. ANSI is an accreditation body from what we gathered, because in 2018 or 19, there in September, there was 138,000 pounds of contaminated meat from Cargill beef. Okay, and where was Mitzi Baum at the time? Mitzi, where was she? Stop foodborne illness. I guess that didn't stop it, did it? But you have, through the British Retail Consortium, the ANAB accreditation. Well, guess what? This girl over here, her name is Ashley Morton, she's becoming very famous because she's going to be on all our videos. She said at the end, at that end of the video that I did, she wrote a comment, she said, A2LA does not sit on ANSI. They're both American accreditation bodies with a equal standing. Well, you know, I think you're wet behind the ears as well. You don't know these things. Well, now you do. Maybe you do know them. But I am sure that Joe Bathia and the rest at that level do not allow their members to know the truth. They want to hide it. In fact, when we sent a letter to Jameson Carroll concerning our nomination issue, he said, you're going to write just me, and only me, because he doesn't want the membership to know what I'm putting out. At the time when Russ Chaney said half a nut fuck you, he was the chairman. You know, I read the ethics. You had to, before I filled out that any good manager, any good leader should read what you're getting into. It's like when I picketed ANSI. I looked at the laws. I looked at what the lay of the land, so to speak. The crime is so bad in Washington, D.C., I told the officer when they spoke with me, not only the officer, but the guy who was Secret Service. He came to me. The two officers came to me. I had already filled out the documentation prior to going. And I said, my dear, she said, who do you represent? And I said, integrity, honesty, and the truth. And that's the fact. Because the guys who run ANSI do not do any of that. That's one of the reasons why they didn't allow me in, because I wanted to change your mission statement. And they liked that statement so much because Russ Chaney said it. It's still there. Half a nut, fuck you. And here he is. Yeah, there you go. Half a nut, fuck you. I played it already. I don't have to play it again. You'll find it in the description. Also, I discovered that it appears, Jonathan, that you have those federal agencies and corporations on board that also form the board. It appears that they like those words, half a nut, fuck you. The worst thing, Jonathan, of all, is that I sent a letter to Joe Bathia in 2019, and Jonathan, you're a young man, and I want to say this. All I was asking for was an apology. Do they apologize anymore in our world today? Probably not. But they do say half a nut fuck you via Russ Chaney. Anyway, I sent the letter. Joe Bethia, rather than squeezing it in his hand and being a demonstrative $2 million manager, because that's how much he makes, it always sticks out in my head, ladies and gentlemen, his salary for 2015. Because you listen to it, $1.6 million base, $350,000 bonus, $74,000 wherever he wants to put it, 401k, and the $35,000 non-taxable bonus. And at that amount of money, he couldn't handle it himself, or at least confer with the attorney. He sent it to this guy, crackerjack degree, American Bar Association specialist. Anyway, this is what he said. He said, after analysis, we were unable to identify any harassing, objectionable content in this brief audio provided. Well, guess what? He thought in the letter of response, which is down amongst these videos in the description, he thought that I was a member the way he was writing, that I can't go to this, I can't go to that, I'm suspended from this and that. Well, he should be disbarred, to tell you the truth. Joe Bethia should have his salary not cut in half. They should pay him in rupee, for God's sake, man. Yes, absolutely. Half. Whatever his $2 million is, they ought to give him 3 rupee and push him on his way, because it's disgusting, okay, that this man could not make a decision. ANSI, half a nut, fuck you. That's exactly Russ Chaney's words. It is not mine. It is not mine. It is Russ Chaney. And when I went to New York, and when I went to Washington, I saw there were no signage saying ANSI being proud. That's an $84 million organization. Most of that 84 is going to pay Joe Bethia. Wow. Holy cow. Unbelievable. And you could tell with Joe Bethia when you watch him on video and his eyes are so bloodshot that he knows in his heart of hearts, okay? He knows in his heart of hearts what he is doing and dispensing is junk, is crap. He is not a good representative of quality, neither is Russ Chaney, and neither is the board. And each one of the board members, both federal and corporate, are going to be exposed because their members are sitting on this board. So that means that they are guilty by association without a doubt. And this, by the way, Jonathan, should be the sign outside New York and the sign outside Washington. Because this is what Russ Chaney said to me in 2019. I played the video, the audio 1,001 times. And Jonathan, what does that say about your ethics? What does that say about your integrity? You are worse than in a swamp. You are in a half a nut, fuck you, per Russ Chaney. That's why I wanted to get elected to the board to fix this mess. Unbelievable when you can't get an apology from an organization of $84 million, immersed in the government, immersed in corporate America, then there is something smelly going on. 203-556-1493. I look forward to hearing from you.